So I just watched a movie called Eight Eyes, and this is a brand new 2024 horror film that is brought to us by Vinegar Syndrome. This is the first film that they actually produce. Typically, they are a company that produces Blu-ray and 4K transfers, and I have a few Vinegar Syndrome releases, not as many as I would like, because it's a very cool company that deals with a lot of like 70s Italian films. And so it would be very fitting that the film that they produced here is a 70s Italian homage throwback film that was filmed on 16 millimeter film and absolutely feels it. This is a love letter to Italian cinema. It has a low budget feel for sure, but the people who made this film absolutely adore 70s cinema and really know how to land the feel of it. Most namely in not only the look of the film grain and film stock, but also in the music. Oh boy. And there's a lot of like 70s camera techniques and framings and such in here that I was really kind of mesmerized with all of that stuff. Now, as far as the story goes, we have this couple who is traveling, and they run into this guy who wants to show them around. And of course, you know, things go off the rails. It had vibes of Hostel for sure. I think that's something that a lot of people while watching this would think of. But, you know, as far as the couple goes, I wasn't really huge on them as a couple. But to be completely fair, that actually is pretty in line with how I feel about 70s cinema, especially Italian cinema, which is what this is most trying to emulate. So it actually kind of works if you were to look at it through that lens. There are shots in this that are straight out of like a Fulci film. In fact, there is a scene towards the end where we're filming New York City, and it could have been lifted right out of Zombie or the New York Ripper or something. It just genuinely felt like a Fulci shot. It felt like the opening of Zombie. Towards the opening of Zombie. It's been a little while since I've seen it. I can't remember exactly where, but the New York shots in the opening of Zombie, it felt very, very reminiscent of that. And oh man, the very last shot of the film is like as 70s as it gets, and the music that goes with the credits is just plucked right out of the 70s. And as someone who's been watching a lot of 70s cinema as of late, this just felt like a nice little warm blanket. It's cool to see a film like this because everyone wants to copy the aesthetic of the 80s American slasher, and we just don't see as much love for Italian cinema with like this low budget flair that this film has. There's a movie that came out, I can't remember what year. My brain's telling me 2016, but it feels too long ago. I'm going to say it's early, a little later on, maybe in 2019. A movie called Bloody Ballet. I think it also had an alternate title, but Bloody Ballet is the way that you could find it now. Not Fantasia, but something like that. That was also trying to be somewhat like this, but more giallo, but it had clearly a smaller budget, and it had limitations because of that. And I had some discrepancies with it, but I feel a lot of them are budgetary. But I really just vibed with this film. The opening shot of the film, once again, I know I keep reiterating, I keep stating this over and over, but if you were to show me the opening of this film, just like the opening credits, where we get a fire and something else, and we like kind of zoom in slowly as we get the title card and the credits. If you were to put that on, and you were to tell me that I was watching a film from the 70s, I would 100% believe you. Not for a second would I think that that opening came from a film made, this year or last year or whenever it was made, but recently. That's super impressive, because I've watched a lot of throwback cinema over the years, and typically, no. It just, there's something missing. The feeling is wrong. It feels too modern. It feels like camera angles or film grain feels forced or whatever. No, this feels authentic, like in that opening shot. Then we get a shot, it kind of took me out of it at first, because I did watch this in 2 different sittings. But there was a moment right when after the credits went, we switched over to this handheld kind of film stock, and then we got a guy who had a backwards cap on and felt very modern, and it just kind of blew the aesthetic and took me out of the film for a minute. And I was like, oh no, I wanted it to kind of stick with that. Sorry, my air conditioner just kicked on. I thought it was off. Oh well, I'm nearing the end here, but that did kind of kick me out of it. And then once we got to start to know the relationship between our 2 main protagonists, the couple here, I didn't buy them as a couple. I didn't like them as a couple. But once again, very 70s. I've been reviewing a ton of 70s giallos. I was just sent one from this new company called Celluloid Dreams, a 4K restoration. And similar problems. I did not buy into or like the chemistry or relationship between the 2 leads. It just felt like forced romance. It felt like a very odd pairing, and that's how this felt. Very odd pairing. I did not buy that they would be together just from a visual sense, but even also a chemistry sense. They just didn't feel like a proper couple. But maybe that's intentional. I honestly don't know. And the main antagonist, or potential antagonist, I should call him, with his dead eye, he was very good. You very much went back and forth on if he was trustworthy or not, and I liked that. I thought his performance was solid, and I did really like the lead girl. Ultimately, in the end, I actually, while it was going on, especially in that 3rd act, I really, really did buy into her as kind of the final girl, and the story was also intriguing where it went, and the last scene, man, goes pretty hard. It gets pretty out there, and it can get a little nasty as well, and it's also kind of graphic with some of the male nudity, and it gets kind of gross. It has almost like a Texas Chainsaw vibe to it for a bit there. One thing in particular, and I think you'll know what it is when you see it, but it gets more psychedelic in places in the end, and I really dug that. The last 5 to 10 minutes of this film, I was super into. And when you end strong like that, it is midnight right now. I was in bed. I was gonna maybe throw on something else for another 30 minutes, see, kind of see what it was like, whatever, because I was just in bed, ready to go to sleep potentially. And that last 5 to 10 minutes was so strong, and the music was so good. I actually watched the entire credits. I listened to the entire credits because the music was so fucking good, and the credits ran like a 70s film that I was like, man, I'm here for it. So the last bit was so strong. The opening was so strong. If the rest of the film was that strong, I'd be sitting here telling you this was top 10 easy. If we had that kind of ending and beginning throughout. But, having now seen the whole thing, I would absolutely want this in my collection. I can only assume Vinegar Syndrome will be the ones putting this out. I really like the title. It fits the 70s motif for sure. And what it ultimately ends up being, you kind of have to put it together a bit, and it is as a little confusing as are these types of films. So I don't know. I feel like after having seen everything, it feels like everything is potential, purposeful. So yeah, I don't know, man. I was really taken with that opening and with that ending, and I liked everything in between. I didn't love everything in between, right? So, man, but that, yeah. So if you're a huge fan of lower budgeted throwback horror that tries to emulate a bygone era, and especially if you're into like 70s Italian giallos or a 70s Italian horror. This isn't a giallo, but it just has that 70s, aesthetic to it in the horror genre. If you're into that and you don't mind lower budgeted, then this is definitely a film for you. Definitely one to check out and support. And I look forward to maybe eventually adding this to my collection. I hope Vinegar Syndrome notices this channel at one point, much like Celluloid Dream did when they ended up sending us this 4K copy of The Case of the Bloody Iris. So that was very cool of them. I hope to get their next movie that's coming out, The Black Belly of the Tarantula, which says it's coming soon. So I don't know. We'll see if they want to work with us again. But yeah, Vinegar Syndrome checks this out and sees it. I would love a copy of this film to promote on the channel. Anyway, yeah, really surprised by this one. I was definitely not vibing with it at times. I was definitely like, this is kind of trying to just be hostile. I really wish that they would have stuck to the vibe of the opening. And then, I don't know, just along the way, I got more into it. I vibed with it more. And then that last 10 minutes really got me like sold on it, so much so that I'm like, actually, I could go back and check this out again. So, yeah, really impressive. I think this is a directorial debut. I think I looked on IMDb, and this guy edited something else that I saw that I was like, damn, I can't remember. I was looking at it before, and I thought he directed it, and I was like, oh, shit. You'll have to go on IMDb and look at what it was that he edited. But if this is a directorial debut, this is a damn impressive one, and I hope that they stick with it and make more films. Hopefully with Vinegar Syndrome, this passion project of theirs to shoot this all on 16 millimeter in the modern era is pretty rare, especially for because they had to have spent a good amount of the budget there, and working with those kinds of cameras and lighting that kind of stuff and everything. It's different, so you really got to know what you're doing. And my hat's off. So anyway. Yeah, definitely check this out and let me know. All right. The movie was the Castle Freak remake. I had to look it up to let you guys know. There you go. Bye.